All right, let's look at some basic methods that we can use once we've selected elements from our page. What kind of things can we do? What kind of methods are built into jQuery that we can use? Um, so here's a list. So anytime we want to run a jQuery method, we do our dollar function and we use whatever selector we need to get the elements that we want. And once we get them, we can put a dot and use a method name. And if the method requires any parameters, we can specify those parameters and run the methods that we want on that particular selector. So some common ones we're going to see examples of on the next slide. We're going to see val and val. One of them is a getter, one of them is a setter. One gets the current value, one sets the value. Text, we can alter text. Next, submit and focus. So let's take a look. So here's an example. Go out and find the element with an ID of gallons. And in this case, we know it's going to be a text box because they're telling us gallons is a text box. .val is going to pull the value out of that text box and store it in the constant gallons. If we want to change the value of that text box, here's an example, gallons.val, and we're actually providing a parameter here, and it's an empty string, so that's going to erase the contents of that text box. Oh, what's next? Email error. So we have an ID of email error, and it has a text property, and we are going to set that text property to email address as required. So we're updating that text property, specifying an error message. The next method, okay, find the last name and then get the object that's next to it and set its text property to the last name as required. And we've seen that before where we've had like a span following some kind of text field where the error messages are going to go. So this would, if that span was next to the text box for last name, it would find the element next to it, which would be the span, and set the text of that span to last name as required. We can also, if we want to call the submit function on a form or something, we can find the join list form and call it submit method. If we have something with an ID of email, we can call .focus and put the focus up on that element. Syntax for jQuery event method. So we can use the selector followed by the event method name. So it could be a click. So we could use some element .click or some element .ready. And then here we have an anonymous function, a function with no parameter, excuse me. And then we'd write our statements inside there. So here's an example. We can do a query for the document and .ready, and the .ready function alerts that the DOM is ready. So this is much shorter. We saw that much shorter version of DOM content loaded. Document.ready, and then we can write whatever we want inside the body. There's even a shorter way in jQuery, and that's leaving out the word document. So we end up with this. Double open parentheses, a close parenthesis, the arrow function, and then our alert. And then down at the bottom, the end of our code block and the final close parentheses. So anything we write in here, it's exactly the same thing as document.ready. We don't even have to write the word document. It just shortens it, makes it short and easy to read. How to attach event handler to a click event for all H2 elements. So if we want all of our H2 elements to do something when they're clicked, we can say H2, this is going to get all the H2s, .click, and then in this case, we're just writing some code that pops up an alert that says this heading has been clicked, but we can write whatever code in this body we want, and anytime anybody clicks on any H2 element, that code will run. So this is using the click event method within the ready event method. So here's our document ready. Remember, we could leave out the word document if we wanted to. So when the document's ready, we're going to get all the H2s, and set click event methods for those, that pops up a message that says this heading has been clicked. That's kind of a combination of this. We're leaving out document and ready in this version. They included it here. I think sometimes, especially if you're new to JavaScript, you might be better off leaving document.ready in it. It's less, if you've got a little bit more experience, the really short way might be a little better. If you don't remember it all the time, that could be a little confusing. So that's a click event inside the document ready function. All right, in the next video, we're going to take a look at an application that makes use of some of those things we just talked about in the last couple of videos.